What do scholars think about the post-mortem appearances? What do they do with that material?
Again, many scholars simply leave it alone. They recognize that these appearances occurred. Most of them, I think, would recognize that trying to explain these away psychologically is just implausible. The hallucination theory was suggested in the latter half of the 19th century, early half of the 20th century. It's been revived recently by Gerhard Lüdemann, a German New Testament critic. But for the most part, New Testament scholars recognize that the hallucination theory just doesn't cut the mustard. It's not plausible. And so they're simply left with a question mark. They recognize that these events occur, but they simply say, we just don't know what happened. We can't explain it.
Talk about why the hallucination theory doesn't work in light of Corinthians 15, where Paul cites over 500 people saw Jesus at one time.
I think on the basis of Paul's evidence alone, the hallucination theory is not very credible. Hallucinations, you need to understand, are projections of one's own mind. They're usually associated with either mental illness or substance abuse. And yet, in the case of the resurrection appearances, we have in this early tradition handed on by Paul a number of appearances which are to a variety of individuals, not just individuals, but even to groups of people, and which are strung out over a long period of time. And the hallucination hypothesis simply can't be stretched to accommodate that kind of diversity. Moreover, some of the people in the list were not followers of Jesus when they had these experiences. I'm thinking here of James, the younger brother of Jesus, who was not a follower of Jesus during his lifetime, or of Saul of Tarsus, the Pharisee, who was a zealous persecutor of the New Testament church. You also have groups of people, as many as 500, who said that they saw an appearance of Jesus. And Paul knew of the people who were involved in this because he was aware at the time that he wrote this letter to the Corinthian church, around AD 55, that some of these people had died in the interim, though most of them were still alive. He knew that they were around. They could be questioned. He personally had talked with Peter and James, two people he names in the list, just within 5 years after the event of the crucifixion, when he visited Jerusalem on a fact-finding mission around AD 36. So the hallucination hypothesis simply doesn't have the power to explain that kind of diversity. There is no single case in the psychological case books which would be analogous to the resurrection appearances. What you would have to do would be to construct an amalgam of cases from different incidents and then lump them all together to try to construct a composite case to find anything parallel to the resurrection of Jesus. But there is no single case in the history of psychology that would be parallel to this series of resurrection appearances.